What's up? It's Coach Ben and welcome to part 3 of this video series of how to become an RX athlete and make it to quarterfinals. In this video, we are covering skills. You might remember in video 1, I talked about the 3 core components of becoming a well-rounded athlete: skill, strength, and engine. And then in video 2, I talked specifically about the components of how to improve your strength and how to improve your overall engine. And we talked about a few things that you can do to improve those facets. Today, we're talking about the most important part. I think this is the most under-practiced part of our sport, and that is skill. The reason that skills are so hard to develop for athletes is because oftentimes the programming we follow doesn't give us adequate amount of time to practice skill. Yeah, we practice strength. Most workouts have a lift in them. Usually it's strength, some sort of lift, and then a metcon. And then the metcon usually is the application of skills and strength and engine. However, there's oftentimes a huge gap where a lot of places aren't programming true skill development on an athlete-to-athlete basis. You have some athletes in class who are working on their first pull-up, while other athletes in class are able to do 10 unbroken bar muscle-ups. It's very hard to do that, so I'm not blaming the affiliates, I'm not blaming programming. I'm just saying that you and I, as athletes, need to take things under our control and start practicing in a strategic way that specifically practices the skills that we're lacking. So, when it comes to developing skills, my job here today, and what I hope that you'll leave with, is identifying which skills are the most important to learn and which skill that you should learn next. Oftentimes, I get athletes messaging me on Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that, and they're like, Ben, how do I do pullovers? Or I'm working on triple unders. And oftentimes, I think these athletes are really asking the wrong question. Unless you are an extremely high-level athlete, your focus should be on the bread and butter movements. When I say bread and butter, that means the movements that we always see day in and day out. So what I've done here is I've drawn this pyramid. This is an important framework to look at skill acquisition. So I just mentioned things like triple unders and pullovers and things like that. These would go up here. So I'll write T, U, and P, O. That's because these are movements that are very hard to learn and they very rarely show up. So they're sporadic. You're almost never going to see them in things like the Open, maybe some advanced level competitions, but really in the grand scheme of things, they're some of the last things you should be worried about. And also like maybe handstand walk, handstand push-ups. If you make it to the games or some elite level competition, maybe, but if you can't do freestanding handstand push-ups, you're going to be fine in the Open and quarterfinals, I assure you. Now, if we go to the other end of the spectrum, things like double unders. They're a fundamental skill of this sport. Double unders show up in every single Open, even though some people are convinced they're not going to. Double unders are a skill that should be one of the first skills that you acquire as an athlete. If you're focusing on anything like, let's say, handstand walks, or maybe like strict handstand push-ups, if you start focusing on these movements before you have double unders, you are doing it wrong. We need to be focused on the fundamentals, the foundations, the things that show up all the time. That's also things like chest to bar. That's things like probably bar muscle-ups, ring muscle-ups. And you can see I'm putting these in based on the rarity of when they show up. Maybe kipping handstand push-ups would be in here. So you kind of have these 4 tiers where you have movements that always show up. You have movements that sometimes show up in the Open or in events or in competitions. Then you have some that are more sporadic and some that are very rare. As we're going on our journey to learn skills, it's important that you start here and work your way up. I don't want to see athletes skipping around and jumping back and forth. What I want to see is people using this framework to understand they need to start by building the fundamentals, the foundational movements, and then slowly but surely move themselves up. So other things I would say is like toes to bar. Yeah, they didn't show up in the Open this year, but if you had chest to bar and toes to bar, I assure you, you would have done okay in that last workout. If you get a bar muscle up, then you're probably going to be able to make it to quarterfinals when it comes to the scope of 24.3. As we move up in skill, normally we increase in rarity, although normally in the open you're going to see one of these. You're going to see a bar muscle up or a ring muscle up, and then you're also definitely going to see things like double unders, chest to bar, toes to bar. Now, when it comes to developing skills, a lot of people get confused. A lot of people will, let's say, they'll buy our bar muscle up course, and they're like, Ben, I want to learn bar muscle ups. And I ask them, how is this level? I will always ask them, how many chest to bar can you do? How many toes to bar can you do? And I'll also write strict pull-ups. We don't see those often in competition, but it's a very fundamental movement. I'll ask them, how many strict pull-ups can you do? Oftentimes, athletes who fail to learn the bar muscle up, they don't have enough chest to bar, they don't have enough toes to bar, they don't have enough strict pull-ups. I'll ask them, hey, do you have at least 6 or 7 strict pull-ups? 6 or 7 toes to bar unbroken, 6 or 7 chest to bar unbroken. If the answer is yes, then almost 100% guaranteed I can elevate them and have them learn bar muscle ups. But if the answer is no, guess what I do? I say, you shouldn't buy this course. I'll give you a refund, or I'll swap it out for our pull-up course. We have a strict pull-up course, we have a toes to bar course, we have a kipping pull-up course that helps learn both butterfly and kipping chest to bar pull-ups. I will literally say, no, you cannot do this yet. You need to work on the foundations. So when it comes to developing skills, we have to focus on the fundamentals first. All these things are iterative, and it's all a flow. We should always start with the foundation, and usually the foundation are the movements that show up the most. Then and only then, once we've checked off these boxes, then it's time to move to the next level. And then once you've checked off these boxes, then it's time to move to the next level. This is not only going to help you in your development as an athlete, because you're going to have the form and the strength and the mobility and everything like that to be able to do these movements. It's also setting you up with a strong foundation. So yes, some events, some even open events might have high level stuff. You might be up here. You might have handstand walks and heavy snatches and quadruple unders. But most of the time, you're going to see things that are more on the foundation, and you're going to be prepared for anything. So rather than trying to skip steps and start to learn these party tricks up here, it's extremely important as athletes to start with the basics and then slowly, one by one, move it up. I'll use bar muscle ups as an example one more time. Let's go over here. So if I had to give someone steps to learn a bar muscle up, here's what they would be. Step 1, pull-ups. You would learn strict pull-ups specifically. I want you to get to at least 6 or 7 strict pull-ups. Then step 2 would be kipping pull-ups. I want you to be able to do 6 or 7 chin over bar kipping pull-ups. Next step, toes to bar. I want you to be able to do 6 or 7 kipping toes to bar. These two could probably be switched back and forth. It doesn't really matter. They're both fundamental foundational elements of learning the bar muscle up. Next is going to be kipping chest to bar. I don't care about butterfly in terms of developing a bar muscle up because that's not the movement pattern. I want to see if I can get you to 6 or 7 kipping chest to bar. And then and only then, once we've checked off this progression, once we have 7, 7, 7, and 7, guess what? The bar muscle up is inevitable. And that's just one example of many. I could do this for handstand push-ups. I could do this for ring muscle-ups. I could do this for a lot of different movements. It's extremely important to approach all of your skill acquisition as a flow, as a progression from least complicated, lowest skill, to highest skill. Once you develop the foundation and you work your way up, you'll be able to achieve these awesome movements that will make you to quarterfinals. So, in the comments below, I want to know from you, using this framework, let's call this level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. I want to know in the comments, what movements are you missing that you should learn next? Which level are they in? So what I don't want to hear is athletes that say, I want to learn triple unders, but I don't have double unders yet. Okay, obviously we don't want to do that. So in the comments, what are a couple movements that you're lacking and which level do they fall in? I will be in the comments trying to answer and provide guidance on what steps you should take next. If you want, on your own in the comments, you can let me know, hey, Ben, I'm trying to learn ring muscle ups. So first, I'm going to start with learning blank, and then next, I'll move on and learn this. And then third, I'll move on and learn this. And then fourth, I'll do ring muscle ups. I'd love to see what you guys come up with in the comments. I want to see the progression. I want to see your plan. And remember, the key to acquiring skills is you have to do your homework. And what I mean by that is just showing up to your normal gym and doing what's on the whiteboard. Normally it's going to be a strength and a metcon. Rarely gives you enough time. It rarely gives you enough skill development to actually truly fill in this entire pyramid. But if you take a little bit of extra time, sometimes all it takes is 15 to 20 minutes of practice, 2 to 3 days per week. That is all you need over the course of time to move from I barely have any pull-ups to doing unbroken bar muscle ups. But you have to be consistent and you have to take the time to practice and do your homework. So I'd love to see, what are you going to try this year to acquire some of these more high-level skills that's going to help you make it to the quarterfinals and beyond? What are you going to do? What are the steps? Let me know in the comments, and I will be there to give you some guidance and help point you in the right direction. I hope that this video was useful. I know I'm scribbling all over the place, but in the comments below, I'd love to hear what have you learned, what are you going to work on next, and I would love to see your plan. And with that, that wraps up video number 3 of this 4-part series. Stay tuned because I have a very special announcement coming in video number 4 to show you how WOD Prep can help you achieve not only skills, but strength and engine all at once with one solution. I'll see you in the next video. Hey, did you like this video? Well, I have a lot more where that came from, where you can enhance your skills even more and learn a bunch. Click this box to watch my next video.